Hey y'all, thank you for joining me for another video. It's been a pretty busy last couple of weeks, so sorry for the delay again. Y'all, I'm trying to get a routine going so that way I can get these videos up on a regular basis. I'm trying, y'all. My ADHD self does not do well with routines. Well, let me rephrase that. When I'm in a routine, I do great. I do way better than when I'm not. But it's setting the routine that makes it a little difficult for me. And y'all excuse my hair. I washed it last night, fell asleep with it wet, and now I'm a hot mess. I'm a hot mess this morning. I didn't get out of bed until, oh gosh, 9:30. Um, yeah. But I wanted to do a video, especially with this month being domestic abuse or domestic violence awareness month. Um, it's also on the 21st will be a year that I've been officially divorced. And with that anniversary, along with the anniversary of the death of my brother in law, kind of hit me hard this time. It's been 7 years, but for whatever reason, it hit me hard, a little bit harder. He was 27 years Navy, um, and I'm kind of looking back and the relationship that was robbed of the kids of their uncle because he loved being an uncle. Y'all, he played the uncle card very well. But so I've been going through a lot of stuff, and my goodness, the dreams I've been getting have been way out there. Um, for quite a while, I was having horrible nightmares or real bad dreams, always at the same time. I would wake up at the 4 o'clock hour. Somewhere within the 4 o'clock hour, I was waking up from a bad dream. And I figured that out why was because he could never sleep very well. And in fact, that was the source of some of our fights because I fall asleep pretty easy and he couldn't. And so he was jealous and mad at me for it. Like, I could control it, but that's another story. And so I would toss and turn at night waiting for him to come to bed because until he came to bed, anything could happen. He could go into a rage, he could go in a drunken rage, yell and scream, and then I'm awake, you know. So I was always on that defensive until he would come to bed, and invariably it was around 4 o'clock in the morning when he'd finally come to bed. So between 4 and 6:30, 7 o'clock, when I'd have to wake up, was the only time I'd ever get any kind of restful sleep. And so I figured that out, and now I'm still getting the dreams, and I wake up at the 6 o'clock hour now, and I go to work at 10:30, so I don't have to wake up till 8. So that's not fun, but it's an improvement at least. I gotta look at it that way. Um, there's a lot of things going on my ex's end that are still in limbo. I mean, the trial for the domestic has been settled. He's on probation. for 18 months. That'll end in a year because it's already been 6 months since he was sentenced. Wow. And, but there's still some other stuff that it's his story, it's not mine to tell or anything. And some other stuff is in limbo, so can't really talk about it. But, um, so because that stuff is still in limbo, it it makes things, it kind of puts me on edge because I don't like anything holding over my head. If I know I got to do something, I'd rather get it done and over with so it's not hanging over my head. So that's been what's kind of going on with me. But I was thinking how, ironically, this is Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. And I want to talk about what to do after you leave. Because everybody talks about, oh, you need to get a plan, you need to leave, do this to leave, that to leave. And no, my cat being ornery today. And, but what about after? First of all, you're going to need a huge, strong support system. Maybe not huge, but just a strong support system. Even if it's a few friends or a few family members. Y'all, I am so blessed, and I get kind of teary when I think about this. I have the best support system. Um, my family, whom I thought didn't really care about me. I didn't think they hated me. I just didn't think they paid much attention to me. Um, like I wasn't that significant in their lives. Um, Mainly because that was what I was convinced of because of the abuse I went through with my ex, and also what I went through with my father, because my father had me convinced of that too. Um, and I discovered that that could not be farther from the truth. Um, when my mom was really sweet, and after about a month, she asked me if she could tell her siblings. My mom's one of 8 kids. And she said, it's been a month now. I haven't told any of my brothers or sisters. May I tell them now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Because it's not that I was ashamed that I left. I just wasn't ready to talk about it. Because it was super hard. Y'all, she told all my aunts and uncle, and they all rallied around me. That night, I got 2 messages from 2 aunts that I was really close to. And then over the next couple of days, I got messages from others just saying they loved me and that they're proud of me. Y'all, you don't know how much that made me feel. How well that made me feel, because I was convinced that I wasn't that special in their lives. I mean, I knew they loved me. I was their niece. But I didn't think I was that significant. I found out differently, and it has been such a game changer for me. And then I quickly found out that I have a wonderful church family too. Um, Again, my pastor knew everything what was going on. He knew from the day it happened. In fact, I had been talking to him for several months to almost a year, or maybe longer than that, actually, uh, about what had been going on and what I was dealing with. So the day everything went down on March 10th, I called Pastor and told him. But I had asked him, I said, look, I'm not ready to talk about it yet, so please, just between you and me and the elders, uh, because they had to know because of safety reason type thing. That was a different issue. And so he said, sure, absolutely. Well, at first, when people were noticing, because it wasn't unheard of for him to not come to church um, for weeks at a time. He would make sure I went because, after all, I had to be saved. I had to be good penny. Um, but it was not unheard of for him not to come. Always some excuse. I'm not feeling well. I'm tired. Who knows? Well, anyway, but once after several weeks, uh, the people started asking how he was doing. And at first I would just say, he's, how did I put it? He's dealing with the consequences of his actions. And I left it at that. But when I was ready to talk about it, one of the guys that if I would talk to a lot, and my ex would talk to him on occasion because they had similar interests on some things, he asked where my ex was. And that's when I decided to tell the truth. Well, I didn't lie, but just open up. And next thing I know, my church family is wrapping their arms around me. And I discovered that the ladies had had a good idea of what was going on. They didn't know everything, but they started seeing things because towards the end his mask was coming off. Um, they abusers can only keep that mask on for so long, and then when that mask comes off, it's like a nuclear weapon going off. And so, because his mask was coming off somewhat, he was still better behaved in front of others than he was at home, or if we were alone in our truck. But the ladies started seeing, and they started praying for me. I didn't find this out until a few months ago. That whenever the ladies got together and I happened to not go to that meeting, they would talk about how they could support me. And I saw that support. In looking back now that I know, I saw that support when it first happened. When I started talking and then people started to know what was going on, they all rallied around me, all supported me. I received more encouragement than I think I've received in 30 some years. And that support has done so much to keep me going forward and not weakening. I mean, I was determined I wasn't going to go back with him because it would have demolished any relationship I had with my kids at that point. Because my two older kids, I did not have the strongest relationship because I had stayed with him and because he didn't want me talking to them, because in his mind, because he and they had bad blood. They were his kids, by the way. um in his mind, if I talk to the kids, then I'm siding with them over him, and I could never side with anyone over him, even if he was dead wrong. So, um, I knew that if I went back with him, I would not have that relationship. I mean, my kids were the reason that I begged God for the strength to call the police, because I knew that I would never have any kind of relationship with them, not anything decent, until I left him for good. I mean, one of my kids said flat out that they're glad I left and that my ex didn't die first before I left, because he's got health issues. Um, well, his health issues are not as bad as he wanted people to think, but he's still got health issues. And the child that said that said because if my ex had died without me leaving, that they would have that doubt in the back of their mind the whole time. You know, you waited till he died, and it would have been totally different. And I totally understand that. And I knew that I could never have a decent relationship. And that's what got me to leave, and that's what got me to stay. I mean, that's what got me to stay away. Um, and it was the support that helped me heal. I mean, it didn't strengthen my resolve, although I do know for a fact with others that it would absolutely help strengthen your resolve if you have a support system. My situation was a little bit different. For one thing, I have personality that I have a very long fuse. Y'all, I don't think it's wrong to say that I have a longer fuse than a lot of people. I'm not bragging, that's just my personality. So when I reach the end of that fuse, that's it. That's it. No more. Done. All bets are off. The end. There's no adding on to that fuse or slow burn. Nothing. That's it. Cut off. Bam. And I had reached that. At that point, I had reached that. Well, I had actually reached that several months prior. And I was starting to put things in place to plan for a way to leave. Um, when I came to that decision, admittedly, I could have just gone with and stayed with my mother and sister. My sister would have taken me in, and me and my youngest in a heartbeat. But one thing, I got to do things the hard way. I couldn't do things the easy way. And secondly, I'm like, no, This is my place. I pay the rent here. I pay the bills here. The reason we have this place is because of my income, because he had no income. He wasn't working. So it was kind of a pride thing, too. Like, no, dude, I'm not going to lose this place. This place is mine. I fought to keep it. So I was coming up with a way that I could stay and have him removed. Because in this state, even though he wasn't on the lease, he was still an occupant. So in this state, I couldn't just kick him out, not legally. And the police couldn't even remove him legally. They'd want to, but they couldn't. And so I had to have either I'd have to have him arrested or some sort of protection order put in place. And so that's why I got the protection order originally. Because with domestic cases, it's a fine line between he said, she said, and things. And so sometimes it's hard to get charges pressed. And I knew that if charges weren't pressed or weren't able to be pressed, they could not legally keep him from coming home. And I wasn't about that. I'm like, no, he's not coming home. So that very day, I went to the courthouse after lunchtime and filed for the protection order. And before noon the next day, I got an email stating that the judges signed off on it. So that's when I was able to really breathe a sigh of relief that, thank heavens. So even if they can't prosecute or can't charge him, he still can't come home. But in having that support system from first my family and then my church family, that has been so phenomenal. Because admittedly, because I was burned before in previous so-called churches and toxic books that I was reading about so-called Christianity, what a Christian wife is. I was expecting somehow, the pastor rallied behind me 1000%. And I was so grateful for that because, quite honestly, I was expecting to have to change churches ultimately. Um, and I'm so grateful that I didn't have to. And but I was wondering how the others would take it because, in my eyes, he was in a way better behaved in front of them than at home. And comparatively speaking, he was. But, like I was stating earlier, that mask was starting to come off because he couldn't keep it on for that long. I mean, he kept it on for decades. So it was starting to get too hard to keep on, and it was starting to come off, even in front of others. And so they kind of saw. And having that support system has been phenomenal. Because knowing that they have my back, I know that if my ex were to ever get totally stupid, which he's not this stupid, if he were to get some hair up his butt or whatever and decide to come to church on his own, even though he's not supposed to be, because he's not supposed to be there when I'm there, I know that I have an entire church to rally around me, protect me, make sure he doesn't even come in the door. And that is an amazing feeling. I mean, like I said, my ex, he's stupid, but he's not dumb. Or he's dumb, but not stupid. He knows this also. And also, he knows if he tries to reach out to me at all, that he goes to jail. And he's got to sit out the rest of his probation in jail. And he doesn't want that. But, just the knowledge of that has been such a game changer for my healing. The ladies have, there's not a time that I don't go, that I go to church that one of them isn't encouraging me some way. And not always the same one. I mean, a lot of the same ones give me encouragement, but not always the same ones. I mean, it changes up. So it's nice to know that they all do. And we have one older lady that whom I adore so deeply. Um, I remember one time, because she's a wise older lady. She saw a lot more than she gave hint to until after everything happened. And one day her son was commenting on how good I looked that day and how I actually looked younger, mainly because I colored my hair so you didn't see the gray. And his mom was like, yeah, it's amazing what happens when you don't have all that stress. I'm like, well, thank you. um, but just to have that support has been tremendous. So reach out to people. People are wanting to help you more than you think, because I was convinced that, like I said, I was convinced that I wasn't that significant in people's eyes. I didn't think I was that significant in my church family's eyes. I mean, I know they liked me, and I know they thought of me, but I didn't think I was that significant. And I found out differently. So don't let the toxic words of your abuser make you think that nobody cares. And if you happen to be in the unfortunate position that there are people that you don't have family around you, that you don't have a support system of some sort, go get one. I'm getting support systems even on the internet. There was one group that I'm part of on Facebook that spawned me joining another one about a divorce support group. Because I talked about, in the original group, I talked about what I've gone through because somebody posted how they needed some help in going through the divorce and stuff with an abuser. So I commented, hey, I know what you're feeling. I've been through this. And I told a small snippet of my story. And then a gal that is adminning a divorce support group said, well, why don't you join this group? We would love to hear your story and see your videos. Okay. And the group's not taking off much now. It's just starting. But now I have a whole nother support system. So even if all you can get is a support system through the internet, that's something. because if nothing else, it helps you realize you're not alone. Because abusers thrive on that. They thrive on um, making you think you're alone, that you have nobody cares, you're just worthless. I mean, you name it. So don't let those words that your abuser has hammered into your head for however many years stop you from seeking that support. Go out there, get support. Like I said, even if it's on the internet. And then also get therapy. If you can't afford therapy, every community has a way of getting free therapy or sliding scale fee. It may take a little longer to get in to that because there may be a waiting list, or who knows what, but get it. And if you're blessed to work for a company that has EAP, I forgot what EAP stands for, where a continuum, where they have the continuum program that helps you access things like financial help, free lawyer advice, or counseling. Take advantage of that. It is phenomenal, because I actually used it for one, to get legal advice when I was first looking to kick my ex out. I went on to Continuum, stated what I needed, and it's all confidential. They don't give this information to anybody other than, in this case, the lawyer that they're looking to hook you up with. And so they hooked me up with this lawyer and gave me, and then I talked to him, and he helped me with advice of how to proceed, since he told me I couldn't just kick him out because of the state I'm in and their laws, which it's a protection against people from being arbitrarily kicked out for no reason. But unfortunately, it kind of gives an advantage to abusers. But, unfortunately, you got to take the good with the bad. Or the bad with the good, rather. So, he gave me advice on how to proceed. And then, when it was time for me to file for the divorce, I went to Continuum, and they helped me find a lawyer, and I got it like 20% discount on the retainer. And he even worked with me with the payments, said I could put anything down, and once I get to a certain spot, because the retainer was $2,000, so once I got to $800 something, then he would file the paperwork, and then as long as I made the remaining payments, or it was 1,500, I'm sorry, because the original retainer was like 2,200, but with the discount and everything, it was like 1,500. So as long as I got the remainder of the retainer within 60 days from when I got the first 800, all was good. And it worked out beautifully. In fact, I even got some of my retainer back, because this case was, open and shut. The only property he had was a truck, and I got it. Um, so it was pretty easy, pretty cut and dry. But Continuum helped me get that lawyer and helped me um, get the divorce. So if you work for a company that has Continuum, utilize it. It's totally free to you, and it is so worth it. It was amazing, and they even help you get help, mental health help. Um, where if your insurance doesn't cover it, um, or covers not enough, then um, you can they'll help you find reduced, uh, sliding scale or something that fits your needs. So absolutely utilize Continuum, um, and look things up. Call therapists, talk to them, say, look, I'm just leaving my abuser, I need therapy, what can we work out? Most decent therapists will work with you. If they're decent, they will. I mean, they got to make a living like anybody else, so they may not be able to do it for free, but they'll work with you. I know in the state I live in, every therapist, every licensed therapist has to take a certain amount of um, free or reduced cases per year. I don't know if that's in every state, but I know it's in mine. So I can't harp enough on getting therapy, because therapy has done so much to help me heal. I am not the same person now that I was a year and 4 months ago when I first stepped into that therapist's office. I am way more confident. Um, Even after just a month of going to therapy, people were telling my pastor's wife, the ladies were talking to my pastor's wife and telling her how much I've changed. My pastor's wife even noticed it. Um, my therapist and the pastor and his wife have a relationship. They're friends. And the pastor's wife went up to him early on in my therapy sessions, like I said, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, and said, "What have you done with Penny? Oh my goodness, she is like 180 degrees different." And he's like, "Well, it's not me, it's her. She's doing the work." But, and obviously that it didn't go into detail, though I told him he could talk to my pastor and his wife about things because I trust them. And maybe and they've been such a huge support to me that maybe there's some sort of enlightenment that my therapist could tell them that could help them help me. So I told him I didn't mind if he talked to them. And so therapy made a huge difference in me in just a few months. Now that I've been going for over a year, I'm looking back and I can see the difference. I can see the huge difference. So get therapy. Find a way. Go to your local uh, battered women's shelter. Go to them. Ask them what therapists work with them. And you're bound to find one that will help you out financially if you're struggling. I was fortunate. I was able to put all kinds of things in place that when everything went down and I called the police on him and had him removed, I was in a really good financial place because I was planning for it. I even uh, did a hardship thing for my 401k and liquidated a huge chunk off of it to help pay bills. Uh, I had a chiropractor's bill that I wanted to try to catch up on a little bit, help me catch up on all the other bills so they could all be zeroed out. For anything in the past, just have current. So that way I had a little breathing room. And then it was also the time when I got the tax refund, and then I had gotten a bonus at work. It was bonus time at work. So I was blessed where I was a little bit better off than a lot of um, domestic abuse victims. So if you're one of those that are really struggling, like I said, call your local domestic abuse shelter and they'll help you. They will have resources to help you. There's resources out there. You may have to look, but go look because that's what they're there for. They want to help. And I mean, that is, if you do nothing else, get that therapy because it'll help clear your head. It'll help you work through all the trauma because trauma settles into your body. It affects your body because it rewires your brain and it settles into your body. I've discovered that over the last year and 4 months that I've done therapy. And now that I'm getting ready to start my foundation, I've been doing a lot of research, looking up things on trauma and how it affects you. And they're discovering now that trauma can affect you in the womb, in utero, the how the mother is living at that point, not just if she has drugs, obviously, but even her life, how she's living, can rewire things for the baby in utero. So trauma rewires you. That's why I can't stress enough to get therapy to heal and rewire back. You won't be, quote, normal. I mean, you don't come out of this unscathed. Trust me. Even a year and a half later, I'm still, there's still things that kind of get me on edge or trigger me. But they don't trigger me as much as they used to. So I take that victory right there that what used to literally make me curl up in a ball on my couch to where my youngest son is holding me and calming me down and begging me to get therapy to that same trigger, man, oh my, no, I don't have to react to that. That's in the past. It's no longer relevant. It's a learning lesson. And I know a lot of us, a lot of people think, especially those that consider themselves strong, no, I can get through this without therapy. I don't need therapy. I can do this on my own. I'm strong. The only reason why I sought therapy because my kids were begging me to, especially my youngest, because he was right there seeing me how I would be incapacitated when I would get triggered. And he kept begging and begging and begging. And so I started getting there. I asked my pastor for if he knew a therapist, and he did. And that was like 3 months later, almost 3 months later. And I started noticing changes within a few weeks. And so getting therapy a lot of times gets a bad rep, and people think, oh, you therapy? You're not very strong. Y'all, healing is not for the weak, I promise you. It is not for the faint of heart. Healing takes strength. More strength than you even think of. More strength than you think it takes. And so just healing alone is strength. You don't need to try to heal by yourself. There's help out there. And it's so worth it. Even if you gotta pay. My therapist is working with me. I only pay $50 a session, and I'm able to afford that. And on days that I can't, he works with me. But it's so worth it. I consider it an investment. I get to invest in me. Because from all my life, I was investing in others, investing my time, investing my heart, into others. Now I'm investing in me. I'm investing my money into me and into healing. Because in healing, I can be there for others. In getting myself better, I'm able to help others get better. And I'm able to use all of what I went through from the time I was a kid to help others. And that's because of therapy. Therapy has strengthened me. It's helping to rewire me. And so it's enabling me to now help others. So this video is almost 50 minutes. I can talk. But I wanted to hop on and talk about this. And so takeaways: get yourself a support system, even if it's over the internet. Seek out the support through your local domestic abuse shelter, and get yourself therapy. Y'all have a great week. Stay blessed, and thank you for supporting me in this endeavor. Y'all have a good week. Bye.